So we're just waiting for Father Lawrence. I hope he will be here in a moment. Father Lawrence is in Bear Island in Ireland at the moment, which is not very far from where I am, but in these circumstances, it could be anywhere. But I know that he has not very good internet in Bear Island, so that may be the reason why there's a connection issue. So we'll give him a bit of time.
I would like to share my poem with you, which I said in Jerusalem, February 23rd, 2019.
Oh, yes, thank you.
And I called it at the time, Oneness, because we are one with God, special and unique. And I wrote, and I want to share it. See what love will do. Find the vibration of kindness. Care for what you get. Enjoy the given. Stillness will guide you to the silence. Share love and be loved. The energy will heal. Short, sweet, like all of you.
Thank you, Fred. It's beautiful.
Father Lawrence is with us now, Stefan.
So I'll hand over straight to Father Lawrence.
Okay, I'm so sorry for the disruption. I've been having some trouble with the internet, which may recur, but actually it wasn't that. I was talking to someone who's in a bit of a personal crisis, and I took an executive decision and stayed talking with them, and didn't have a chance to inform you. But anyway,
doesn't matter at all. We had a nice poem by Fred.
Oh, good. Sorry, I missed that. Anyway, I won't keep you too long now, so I'm sorry for the delay. I just wanted to share with you some thoughts that arose from an article that I just finished writing for a Belgian journal on on John Mayne and his followers is the name of it. It's an issue that's dedicated to that theme. And as I was thinking about what to say, I realized that this year, 2021, is the 30th anniversary of the founding of the WCCM in 1991 at the John Mayne seminar led by Bede Griffiths at New Harmony, Indiana, where we hope to go next year for a celebration of that. We can't go this year. And some of you were there. Who was there? Magda and Fred were there. I think that's probably it. So the three of us were there anyway, of this group. But it was also, I realized the other day, it's the anniversary of the starting of the internet. At least it's one of those dates that people give, you know, when did the internet start? They say 1991. So putting those two together, I thought, what is the significance of that joint anniversary? And of course, all anniversaries are a little ambiguous because, you know, when did the WCCM start? It was named in 1991, but the roots go back to Father John's life and his own personal journey. And of course, the roots go back way into our Christian tradition. But there is a significance, I think, in putting those two dates together. And I thought the one idea that clarifies the meaning of both is the noosphere. The noosphere is a word that comes from the Greek word nous, which means mind, and it expresses the sphere of consciousness that envelops the planet. And it was used by the great Jesuit scientist and mystic Teilhard de Chardin, in particular, to describe the mind of Christ. He saw, as a scientist, the idea of the noosphere being a third stage in our global evolution. The first stage is the geosphere, you know, just the rocks and the geological formation of the planet. The second great stage of evolution is the biosphere, when life begins and it bursts into all its variety and diversity. But the third stage of evolution is the development of this field of consciousness, the common mind. And I think the internet is an expression of that. Some people would say, well, this is the noosphere, and we're now able to connect immediately, unless somebody's late. We are able to communicate immediately through different continents and different time zones, and everything is now, everything is immediate. But I don't think the internet, however wonderful it is as a technology, is the noosphere. It is simply maybe even a rather crude example of this growth of consciousness. It is, of course, helping global consciousness to form. But whenever human beings discover something, there's always a shadow side to it, like atomic energy. We discover atomic energy, we can do great things with atomic energy. What is the first thing we do? We create the atomic bomb, and then have 50, 60, 70 years of living in fear of nuclear weapons. So there's something very primitive about human beings, that we're still running around like Neanderthals, even worse than Neanderthals, in our tribalism and in our dominated by our negative afflictions, dominated by our anger, by our fear, by our jealousy, and everything that we see as the dark side of humanity. And so in some ways, the internet is promoting that. We can see how the internet can be used to create false news and, create hate groups and polarize people and create everything that we've been seeing happening in the American politics and so on. So I don't think we can just simply say the internet is the noosphere. It's a technology. And we're using that technology in the WCCM. The WCCM would not exist as it does today without the internet. And we've just launched our new website. I hope you've had a chance to have a look at it. It's amazing. And we had a great team of people working on it for months, and it's looking really good. It's going to enrich the community and allow us to share the gift of meditation even more widely. So it's a piece of technology, and in itself, it's neither good nor bad. It's what you make of it. Do you use it to create hate groups or have the dark web, or do you use it to create what we're doing in Benedict's Well? Now, Father John died, really just before the digital age in 1982. So we don't have, videos of him, or fortunately we have the audio talks, which I listen to every day. But they were recorded in what is now a very primitive technology on little cassettes. But John Main's gift to us and to humanity has been made shareable. We've been able to share it through the digital technology. So we've used it, and we are using it for good purposes. So I've been thinking about what John Main's legacy really is. And I think it is to have understood so deeply what the noosphere means, or he did talk about it once, I think, but to understand the mind of Christ, and that the mind of Christ is forming in us. It forms in us individually. St. Paul says, for example, may Christ be formed in you. He's writing to one of his little communities who are having some conflicts and some trouble and trying to be faithful. And he says to them, persevere, keep the faith, and allow Christ to be formed in you. And then you will come, he says, to the unity inherent in your faith. The unity inherent in your faith. We possess the mind of Christ. The mind of Christ is in us and is with us. And I think Father John's insight into the meaning of that idea took him beyond the idea and into the lived experience of it. He knew it. He knew the mind of Christ, and he also knew that the way for us to allow the mind of Christ to form in us, and then to form in humanity as a whole, is to be silent, is to be simple, is to be still. It is to go into the inner room and to make that work of contemplation, that journey of meditation, part of our daily life. And he understood that with such personal clarity and depth. He didn't argue about it. He didn't have to market it. He knew that this evolution of consciousness was taking place. And he had seen it grow in himself, and he knew that by sharing what we ourselves experience, that's what community is, we will contribute to the evolution, the healing, and the evolution of humanity itself. So I think his insight into the noosphere is much deeper than the internet. Of course, the internet has helped to communicate it, but the real communication that makes this mystery happen as it is happening and evolving is the personal journey, the personal experience. And that's why he says over and over again in his teaching that in meditation, we realize the truths of our faith in our own experience. So when he communicates what he knew, he's not trying to describe it from a personal point of view, just saying what he subjectively experienced. Nevertheless, you have the feeling of a real authority in what he is describing, and a real insight into the meaning of the words of Scripture. So as I say, he wasn't marketing it or trying to persuade anyone, and he wouldn't argue about meditation with somebody who just wanted to argue about it. But he did feel that it was important to speak about it, to communicate it. And he knew that this gift of meditation, this small little gift of meditation, has tremendous implications for us as individuals and for the church as a whole and for humanity. And I think it was a blessing that he began his own journey in meditation, when he was in the Far East. Although from the very beginning, he saw it as a way of deepening his Christian faith. Nevertheless, the start of his journey came, through this Indian monk that he met in Malaysia. But then very quickly, he integrated it into his other forms of Christian prayer and eventually rediscovered it specifically at the root of his own Christian monastic tradition. So his own journey and his own story of discovering meditation, I think, is a parable for our time, because it already suggests that global consciousness, that unity that exists among humanity, deeper than all the differences of culture and belief. And so, in a way, we can see his experience verifying the truth of our faith, that in Christ we are all one. There is neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, even male or female. There is that undivided consciousness, and that is the mind of Christ. So we know that, we can sense it, we are expanded by that doctrine, but we also are on the journey to verifying it in our own experience, and that is our daily practice. And finally, in this article, I look at the meaning of John Mayne's monastic identity, his monastic vocation and context of his life, to his work and to the influence he is still having powerfully around the world. And I think the big awakening that took place in him was that this tradition, this monastic tradition, is a channel, is a medium for the communication of this wisdom. And it is a deep and long and intercultural and transhistorical phenomenon, monasticism. But he also knew that the form of monasticism in our own time is out of date. And it became out of date, I don't mean that in the sense that you know, to be judgmental and to be dismissive. You know, individuals and individual communities can still be faithful and can still, you know, follow their calling. But as a form that can channel or can communicate this wisdom, it is out of date. And it's out of date because it forgot this mystical core of its own reason for existence. And John Mayne understood that what Saint Benedict was writing was a little rule for beginners to create little communities that would allow people to begin this journey and to be supported, to be enriched, to be able to form a community with many different types of individuals and to live together in the mind of Christ and to allow Christ to be formed in them with all their diversity and all their conflicts and all their differences of opinion, but nevertheless to live in community, in the spirit of the mind of Christ. And his revolutionary contribution to this tradition was to place the practice of meditation into the traditional form of the monastic life. In other words, the divine office and the Mass. Because you go to any monastery in the world today, nearly, there are only one or two that I know that meditate together. And you will have maybe a beautiful form of the office, beautiful prayer, but it lacks this contemplative experience as a shared experience. In the old days, I mean, before the Vatican Council, most of these monasteries would have usually 1.5 hour of silence in the church together. But the monks were not really taught what to do during that half hour, or they were taught, you know, mental prayer or discursive prayer. So their minds were very busy, or, as most of them will tell you, they fell asleep. What John Mayne understood when he rediscovered meditation in the work of Cassian and the Desert Fathers was that this could be reintroduced into the life of the community. And his insistence, of course, was that we simply, quietly put a period of meditation into the office and into the Mass. And that's a revolutionary step forward for Christianity as well as for monasticism. And so what we have seen and I think it's his ongoing legacy, and Bonneau is an expression of it, is that his insight into the place of meditation in community life is leading to a new form of monasticism, a new form of Benedictine life. And the oblate is a very powerful expression. I'm not saying it's going to be the only form of Benedictine life, but it is a very powerful expression, new expression, which gives new energy and vitality to the Benedictine and monastic tradition in the church. And John Main understood that you didn't need to be a monk to meditate, and you didn't need to be a monk in the traditional sense in order to live a contemplative life. You know that too. That's why we're here. That's why we meet every week. So I end this article by saying, what next? What's going to happen next? And I say, I don't know. But I think it is important for us to have a clear perception of the past, how we have evolved, where we've come from, what we have recovered, in order to be able to see what is the next step. And maybe we can't see very far ahead, but we can just take the next step and keep on taking the next step. But what is very clear to me in this 30th anniversary is that John Main was a pivotal figure in the evolution of the church, and through his recovery of the way of meditation. And although he was very focused in what he was teaching, and he's teaching the deep simplicity of the mantra, but in the mantra, he understood that this was a lever that could move the world. You remember some Greek philosopher said, or engineer, I think he was, said, give me a lever and I will move the world. Just have to put the lever in the right place and turn it, and the world, however heavy the obstacle, you can move it. And he understood that this simple act of love and of faith that we practice in saying the mantra day by day, deep in our heart, that is a lever that is changing things, changing us, and allows us to be part of the evolution of the mind of Christ in our world. So, although we're in the middle of this dark pandemic, there was some light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's important for us in this, understanding this anniversary, to be able to share hope, because this is a message of hope, that an evolution is taking place, and okay, we're going through a dark and difficult time, but the evolution itself is real, and we are part of it as a community. So, thank you. And
thank you, Father Lawrence, thank you. And yeah, there was so much in there. There's in the chat, you'll see there's all sorts of comments about how inspirational the talk was, summary of what our meditation is about, and a motivational reflection. What came out for me was this sense of our community, Christ being formed in us. That's what our Benedictine life is about, and our meditation practice as a lever for transforming the world. There's Archimedes, and lever and a place to stand. So we have our community is a place to stand, and I think that's a great treasure to have this stability. So that the combination of that place to stand and our transformational practice is what makes us have a real impact. So thank you very much, and I will pass back to the prayer leaders. And I hope you have a nice last week in Bombo, in Bear Island. And it's nice to have you in Ireland.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
I pass back to Fred and Magda to end the prayers.
May the divine assistance remain always with us.
And with our absent brothers and sisters. Amen. Have a nice week.
Yeah.
Peace be with you, all of you, and love.
Thank you
Bye.
very much, Magda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Fred. Thank you, Magda.
Thank you very much, Magda and Fred, for leading us in your prayers today. And thank you for Fred for sharing your beautiful poem with us. And thank you to Father Lawrence for that wonderfully inspirational talk. And Christ forming in us, I think that's a lovely thought to take into our Lenten journey that starts this week. So thank you very much indeed for being with us this morning. We do appreciate it.
Me
And
too.
thank you, Stefan, for keeping us all together and leading us so beautifully. So thank you to everyone now. And it just remains for me to say, hope you have a good week, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. God bless.
God bless. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye, Julia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all.